College athletes are in a very weird and unique category. There are a lot of opinions on the treatment of college athletes. There are even some who think athletes should be able to skip college and go straight into the professional level of their sport. They think that because they do not see the point for them to go to college for 1 year when they can go straight into playing and making money. I feel that college athletes should not be paid directly by their college or the NCAA, but they should be paid for their likeness. A lot of people who claim that college athletes should be paid do not really understand what they are trying to defend. They do not really think about things like who is paying them or what kind of benefits they are already receiving. The biggest reason that they shouldn't be paid to play by their college is because they are already getting paid through scholarships. Now, I understand that scholarships are not the same as being handed a check. You cannot really use scholarship money for normal everyday things. But with scholarships, college athletes are saving thousands upon thousands of dollars on an education that most people do not get the opportunity to get. The average person has to get scholarships by writing essays and applying for them or making really good grades for years and doing great on a test, while athletes are just playing a game. Now, I have played basketball my whole life, and I understand the work that is put into being a really good college athlete. And to get good at the college level takes a skill that is very deserving of these scholarships. But it's still a game. You are getting some, if not all of your education paid for because you are good at a game. That is why schools or the NCAA should not be paying athletes a check on top of their scholarships. That money can go into things like dorm rooms, classrooms, professors, financial aid, campus medical facilities, and so many other things that will affect everyone, not just the athletes. Now, you may be asking yourself, how can they get money to pay for everyday things if they spend all their time in school or playing their respective sport? That is why I feel that the middle ground in this issue that will resolve it is that the athletes can only get paid for their likeness and through endorsements. What I mean by that is, by their likeness, is that they will get paid if they use them in a video game or if they put their name on a shoe. This way, it isn't the colleges paying them extra money, but instead it's the outside sources that are giving athletes that additional financial aid during college. This is the perfect give and take for the NCAA and the athletes that put so much work in year-round. The NCAA and the schools within it can use that money for things to improve their facilities and campuses, while the players are still getting kind of like a bonus from other people for their efforts. It also pushes players to be smart with their money because not all athletes are going to get those endorsement deals. That would give a little extra motivation for the athletes to do their best on and off the field. That is why it would be better if college athletes get paid through likeness and endorsements, but not by the colleges and the NCAA. Now, to every argument, there are always counter arguments. They are going to try and tell you that their way of thinking is better. There are a few particular questions that are going to come up if you present them with this idea. The first question most people are going to ask is, why can't these athletes just skip college and go straight into professional level of their sport? As of right now, college athletes are not allowed to skip college and go into professional level of their sport. A lot of people think this is a better solution than athletes getting paid through their likeness. The reason they are wrong is because not all athletes will make it to professional sports, so not all of them will get any compensation that way. There are way more athletes that play college and not professional afterwards than there are that play professional afterwards when they're done with college. Therefore, it is not fair to the many athletes that won't go pro. Now, for players that will play professional sports, the scenario is a little bit different. The reason that they shouldn't be allowed to skip college sports is because the uncontrollable outcomes of sports. What I mean by that is if they just skip college and get injured in their first professional game, what are they going to go do then? It might be unlikely, but if it happens and they get cut from their team, then they will have absolutely nothing to fall back on. They would either get a regular job or go back to college, which they now have no scholarships for. Also, the NCAA should not give the decision to 18-year-olds if they are able to skip college. As an 18-year-old myself, I realized that how bad most of our decisions actually are. We shouldn't be able to make choices like that for ourselves. That's why I feel that going straight from high school to professional sports shouldn't be made allowed. Another question that is commonly asked is, since colleges that make a lot of their money on sporting events, shouldn't that money be put back into sports and their players? While that is a good point, the reality of it is that money is much better off being put back into the campus to make campus life as good as it can possibly be for everyone in the school, not just the athletes. Just because the players aren't getting the money directly, though, doesn't mean it isn't being put into things that will help athletes in the long run. Weight rooms, stadiums, practice fields, maintenance, locker rooms, jerseys, and much more is being paid with the money that they earn from these games. So while players aren't getting handed a check, a lot of the money is definitely going into making their lives better and easier. The last counter-argument question is, isn't it a waste of time for them to go to college if they can go straight into the professional sport and succeed? ESPN analyst Fred Carter says, most people do not realize the amount of teaching these kids receive in the NBA before and after practice. In college, there are time constraints on how long a player can be in the gym. While he is talking specifically about basketball and the NBA, this argument works for all sports. He has a good point, but the gap between high school and the professional level is so huge. Most players will be much better off with at least 1 year of college experience to help bridge the gap between the two levels. So while it might cost them a little extra time, it is still important for them to get that experience against college athletes before they go against professional athletes. Those are some of the questions that come around when talking about college athletes and what they should and shouldn't be allowed to do. That is my take on if college athletes should get paid and if they should be allowed to skip college sports. As I already stated, college athletes getting paid through endorsements and for their likeness is a much better option than getting paid by the NCAA or by their respective colleges. Being fair to everyone is the ultimate goal, and I feel that this is the best way for that to happen.